Welcome to this episode of Pause for Peace with me, Pastor Jule. Here we are, November 10th, and I have a special invitation to all of our listeners out there. You can be a part of this event next Saturday, November 16th, 2 p.m., either in person or on our YouTube channel, Hillwood Presbyterian Church YouTube channel. We are having a celebration of the ministry of Hillwood Presbyterian Church and an installation of me as the permanent pastor of Hillwood Presbyterian Church. We would love to have you a part of that event, whether you can be there in person or tune in through live stream or catch it later on our YouTube channel. Be a part of Saturday, November 16th, 2 p.m., celebration of the ministry of Hillwood Presbyterian Church and the installation of me, Pastor Jule. I'm glad you joined me today. Here it is, November 10th, and there's so many emotions going on in our nation for so many people. This is unbelievably almost the middle of November already in the year of 2024, a season when we begin to turn to gratitude so many times. And it can be hard in the middle of all the emotions that are swirling, the hype of the presidential election, the results of the presidential election, the ways that it seems that we continue to be so divided as a nation. It can be really difficult to turn to gratitude at a time like now. But it's a great time to do a little bit of an assessment. And today I want to invite us into that experience of assessment. When I work with clients in the energy therapy of healing touch, I will often ask them, how are they doing physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually? Because energetically, through healing touch, through other energetic healings, all of those aspects of who we are can actually come to healing and wholeness. So our invitation today is to do a bit of a scan, an assessment of how we're doing physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. When I first had to learn these, I put them in that order so I could memorize them as PEMS, P-E-M-S, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Great way every day to take stock of what's going on for you. So I'm going to invite you into just a few moments of quiet. We'll do a bit of centering, getting ourselves grounded back in our bodies, back in the earth. If you are listening to news and other sources, TikTok, Instagram, whatever, I am sure you are getting pulled up into a frenzy of anxiety. And this is the time we need to get ourselves back into our body, because no matter what comes, we commit ourselves to living the path of love. And we do that grounded right here where we are, everywhere we go in the world each day. When we meet the world with love, we will receive and experience love. We will bring more peace to this entire planet. So I'm going to invite you to get your feet flat on the earth. This would be a great time to actually be in the grass, if you can be, or at least remember it is there under you somewhere. This earth is connected. We are held by it every day. So bring awareness to your feet. Take a deep breath into your feet. And we do that through our squeeze box, through expanding our diaphragm in and out. And as we exhale, send that breath down through our feet. One more time. All of our energy will get settled down into who we are, being held in this earth. One more time, a nice, big, clean, cleansing breath in, and let it all go out. Whatever's within you, whatever you're carrying, you can return it to the earth. So with your focus on your feet in this exercise, I want you to bring awareness to how you are experiencing yourself physically. We're doing a little scan of what's going on for us physically. But I don't want you to do that so much in your head as actually in your body. So you might even want to start with your toes and bring awareness to your toes and your feet and your ankles and wonder, how are they feeling today? Is there any tightness, any stiffness? If so, give them a little energy of your breath, maybe move them around a little bit, do some circles in your ankles. How about your calves and your shins and your knees? How are they feeling today? What are you noticing? Maybe even invite the energy from the earth to come up into our legs. How about in our quads and our hamstrings? If we spend a lot of time sitting, our hamstrings are probably extremely tight. Feel free to move them around. Do a little stretch of your hamstring. Might have even just heard my knee crack as I move around a little bit. This body has served me well. I've been an athlete as a youngster and been hard on this body all throughout my life. It has helped me do amazing things, and I give great thanks for it. Now we move into our hips. We're going to come back to our hips in a little bit, but how are they feeling? Are they tight? Do they feel constrained? Do they feel a little bit too loose? You need to get up and do a little movement of your hips, rolling your hips around, maybe even doing your hula hoop a little bit. What about in your belly and in your lower back? How are these parts of your body feeling, these physical aspects of yourself? You might even take stock right now. Have I eaten today? What did I feed myself? Have I taken any water today? Or what did I drink today? That might still be saturating all my cells. I know so many of us love coffee, but coffee, tea, all of these caffeinated drinks are actually really, really, really bad for our nervous system. So let's do what we can to calm ourselves, especially if we have saturated them with nothing but caffeine today to drink. How about our torso, our chest area, our shoulders? So many of us are so bad with our posture. So how are our shoulders doing today? Our arms, our forearms, our wrists, our hands, our fingers. We're so hard on our fingers. All the texting that we do, all the manipulations on our devices, we got to keep our fingers in good shape. Do some exercises to release our fingers. Travel back up to your neck. Assess how your neck is doing. Maybe you want to gently move it around a little bit. Very gently. Don't do what I'm doing. Do what your physical therapist tells you to do. Do what your Pilates instructor tells you to do. What your yoga instructor tells you to do about stretching your neck, being very gentle as we stretch our neck. And then let's assess our head, starting with our face. Is there any tightness we're feeling in our face? How's our jaw? Are we somebody who holds all of our anxiety, our tension in our jaw, and it just gets tighter and tighter, and we get totally knocked out of alignment then? So maybe do something, move your jaw around a little bit. Do something to release your jaw. We can give thanks for our eyes and all that we can see. Maybe we can let the worry lines of our forehead unravel for a little bit. Just allow them to release. Do a little assessment even of your brain, of your head. How's it feeling today? Have you fed your brain well today? Have you rested your brain well today? And then even just out the top of our head, how are we feeling? Are we connected to the divine that is beyond us, the transcendent God that is beyond us? This is something we do through the crown of our head. And so how are we doing? Does it feel open and flowing today? I'll often ask my clients to assess physically, how are you feeling? Between 0 is no energy whatsoever. 10 is on top of the world. I am just filled up with all sorts of flowing energy. And so you might just make note physically, 0 to 10, how are you doing? And now we're going to move on to emotions. And this is where I want us to come back to our hips. And I'm going to ask you to actually place your palms on each of your hips. One on one side. You don't have to cross them. Just place your palms on your hips. Energetically, we store our emotions in our hips. And so if our hips feel sluggish, if our hips feel tight, if our hips are really inflexible, we really are being called by our hips to assess our emotions. We hold our emotions in our hips because this is, in the energetic realm, this is the sacral chakra. This is like our base emotions are held here in our sacral chakra. So do a little assessment of your hips. How are they feeling physically? But then turn inward into, how am I doing emotionally? Am I feeling irritable? Am I feeling sad? Do I feel elated? My hips feel like really flexible and ready to move and jump around and get to work. Are my hips feeling kind of drained? Because emotionally, I might be feeling drained this week. What's going on with me emotionally? Let's just take a little bit of silence to listen. And you can be thinking as well of that 0 to 10 emotional scale. 0 being emotionally, I'm feeling really depleted, really down, all of those very negative emotions that I assign them as negative, but they're emotions that are like draining me. And 10, feeling like great, emotionally I feel great. I feel connected, I feel joyful, I feel full up emotionally, I feel well supported emotionally. So that would be the 10. So let's take a little bit of silence. You can breathe. Maybe even some things will be released from your hips as we do this. And in the silence, pay attention to how you are doing, assessing how you are doing emotionally. We really don't want any judgment here. We just want to notice. Take one more deep breath, being aware of your emotions. And when you release it, release whatever emotions might be holding you back. Release those right now as well, getting in your way. We don't want to be possessed by our emotions. We want to have our emotions. We want to allow them to come and go and come and go. But if we push them back or ignore them, they can get stuck within, and then we're going to have some problems. So let's just be courageous and allow ourselves to feel our emotions when they come. Give us about 90 seconds with each emotion and see what happens. Most probably, according to neuroscience, in 90 seconds, the emotions will come and they will go if we just allow them to be. Don't get stuck or fixated or clinging to them. Just allow them to be. I want to move on now to the M in PEMS, mental. How are we doing mentally? How are our thoughts? And for those in the energy world, we often connect our mental capacities with our gut, actually. These are our base thoughts. Now, most of us maybe experience our thoughts in our head, and the ways that our thoughts in our heads can be rambling all around, or can be going really fast, or swirling, or even just unable to kind of come to awareness. But I want you to not just pay attention to the thoughts in your head, but also what's going on in your gut. Okay, this is your solar plexus chakra, that energy center that is responsible for our base thoughts, it's our like base mental capacity. So you might want to put your hand on your solar plexus, which is just under your sternum, kind of above your navel, below your chest bone. And let's do our assessment of how we're doing mentally. And this is a good time to be reflecting on the kinds of messages about ourselves or about the world that are going on in our head, okay? But they're connected here in our gut. Our gut, here, our solar plexus, when it's in balance, it gives us that sense that we have agency and power in this world. And so it's really important to keep in check this base mental thoughts. So do a little assessment. What kind of thoughts have you been experiencing these last several days? What kind of messages have you been allowing to move through your mind? Depending on what they've been, they're probably upsetting your gut. When we have gut issues, it's a time to assess what is going on about my thoughts. Are my thoughts supporting me? Are my thoughts celebrating me? Are my thoughts reminding me that all shall be well? I got this, and all shall be well. The Lord of the universe, the sovereign energy, which is love, holds us all the time. Are those the kinds of thoughts that we are allowing to saturate us? Or is it something else? And if it's something else, I have a feeling I'm going to be embroiled in my solar plexus. So in the silence, do your assessment. We might give ourselves on that scale of 0 to 10. If our mental thoughts are just very depleted, down, negative, let's give ourselves closer to the 0. And if they've been very positive and very affirming and very forward-looking, we'll give ourselves a 10. Wherever we are on that spectrum of 0 to 10 with our mental capacities right now, our thoughts. Take a deep breath and release. And if you have been riding the wave of some really negative thoughts, breathing them out, exhaling them, getting them out of your body, out of your system is a great idea. Doing that whenever you come to awareness that the negative chatter is taking over. Take those deep breaths, release, just release it. You don't need it. It's not going to serve you. It's just going to pull you off of who you're supposed to be today. And I want to move us into assessing our spirit. How are we doing spiritually? And for this, I want us to place our hands on the center of our chest, on what's known as the spiritual eye of the heart, which is right there in the center of our chest. If you've been listening to Pause for Peace, you have heard me guide us through meditations, through the spiritual eye of the heart, through the center of our chest, this energy center known as our heart. This is the place where we connect with the God that lives deep within. And this is the place through which we see, spiritually see. When we meditate, when we dream, When we have visions, this is the originating spot within us. So let's take a few moments to assess spiritually how we're doing. Which might mean we start with wondering, how aware am I throughout the day that I'm a spiritual being, that I have a soul? I'm not just body, I'm also soul. And that the divine lives in me. How aware am I throughout the day? You see, when we forget this, everything else gets all messed up. When we forget that the ultimate force in this universe, which is love, pure love, capital Love, love. When we forget that that lives within us, that God is in us, which Jesus teaches us in his own incarnation, his own coming as body and soul. When we forget this, everything gets messed up. Our thoughts get messed up. Our emotions get messed up. We physically get messed up because we might just think we're only a body. We forget that we are also soul. We can get stuck, enslaved almost to the body and to the emotions and to our mental thoughts when we forget that God lives within us and that all we have to do is return to this spiritual eye of the heart, to the energy of our heart space, dive deep in once more and reconnect. It's almost like getting reattached to that anchor of love that is in us. This is the way I think the psalmists talk about how in those beautiful psalms of Holy Scripture, we hear again and again about God being the foundation, the rock. This is it. This is the God that is within, that anchors us for life in this world. So let's reconnect with it. Even if you're like, oh, I'm a zero, I'm not even aware that I have a soul and that God is in me, then I might give myself a zero, but that's okay. Right now, I can take a deep breath, dive into my heart space, and be on this quest of like looking within to connect with the love that is always within me, with the God that lives in me. And on this quest to reawaken this awareness. We can set that as our intention every day. It's a high teaching from Jesus because he wanted us to know this about ourselves so that we would be able to see this in all other beings. And it has to start within. This high spiritual teaching. This is the call for those who seek to follow the way of Jesus, who seek to follow the way of the Christ, who seek to follow the way of love. This is the call. Reawaken the God within so I can see through my physical eyes, through the spiritual eye of my heart, the divine living in all things, in all beings. This is our quest each day. So let's take a little bit more silence, do what we need to do now as we spiritually assess, as we reconnect ourselves, as we reawaken to the God that lives within. You might even like see yourself like being like this battery getting plugged in to this massive charging station, which is God that is within and so much further beyond you. So beautiful. When I'm here in this place, when we are here anchored in God, we know that all is well, and that all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well, as beautiful Julian of Norwich taught us from her divine revelation that she received from Jesus herself. I'm going to invite us out of the silence in just a moment. But before we go, if you'll shower yourself inwardly somehow with some form of gratitude, might even be gratitude for stopping for these few minutes in your busy day to be able to pause and recenter yourself in peace. It might even be gratitude for an awareness. Maybe you didn't know that you were carrying anger in your hips, or maybe you didn't know that your thoughts have been on a spiral downward, taking you down, and so your energy has been getting depleted. Maybe you didn't know that, and now you know that. So give great thanks for that, because now you actually can do something about it. You can seek to release the anger or act upon the anger in a way that will bring about wholeness. Listen to that signal coming from your body. You might even see yourself just being literally showered in like golden light. Great gratitude that you are a physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual being. And you are here in this world for a purpose. You are needed in this world. The love that is in you is needed so incredibly much. So we stay grounded in who we really are, so we can face each day. And we can be who God needs us to be wherever we are sent all throughout our day, wherever we find ourselves wandering or going, wherever it might be. We have the opportunity to embody love wherever we go. This is God's gift to us. So when you're ready, you can bring your hands together towards your heart center. Prayer pose, we call that in yoga and in the spiritual world. You can open your eyes when you're ready and look now through the eyes of love at the world, at your day, at yourself, at everybody around you. Thanks so much for pausing for peace today. I look forward to seeing you next time. I remind you, join us for a beautiful celebration of the ministry of Hillwood Presbyterian Church, USA, on Saturday, November 16th, 2 p.m. in the sanctuary of Hillwood, or catch us on our YouTube channel. Blessings. Have a wonderful week.